Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to take a look at this article here. This is coming from the Mail. Oscar committee members so appalled by woke nominees that they're not even voting. So apparently it's talking about how there were a lot of movies that maybe were not worthy of an Oscar nomination getting a nomination just because they ticked all the right boxes with their diversity rules. And apparently some voters are just not voting for any.
Are you allowed to say that in Hollywood? You know, because a couple years ago you would have been, blacklisted for pointing out the obvious.
That. You can't say that.
You can't say blacklisted, or you can't say that in general.
Because Oscar's so white. Yeah, so this was I remember this was a controversy a couple of years ago. It was like they put these mandates in, and it didn't matter how deserving your movie was. If you didn't have the right ratio, the right racial makeup or gender makeup in your movie, you could not be nominated for an Oscar. So the stuff that's getting nominated, a lot of it is really damn weird, off the beaten path stuff that normally would not get nominated, right? So a lot of people, it seems like they're protesting. I've seen links to articles on X talking about how some people were admitting they never watched Dune 2. Like they're supposed to watch these movies to vote on them, and they're like, yeah, because it's too damn boring.
Well, to be fair, I don't like the Dune movies. I'm sorry, they're not for me. But that's okay if you like them.
Some people really like them. I actually prefer the David Lynch Dune. It's weird as hell, but it's entertaining.
I don't like any of them. I've tried, but that's okay. If you like it, that is cool. I mean, general you, not just you, Kneon. General you.
Well, no,
enjoy
I can't say
away. Enjoy away.
I bought Dune 2 on digital when it first came out, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna find 3 hours to watch, and I forgot about it.
See, just saying 3 hours sounds painful to me. I just can't do it.
I sat through the first one. I'm like, yeah, that was okay. I mean, I've seen so many versions of Dune. It's just like, okay. Because even the Sci-Fi Channel, though, I think in some ways did it better. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Let's talk about the doom. The doom of the Oscar committees, that are facing. The doom of the Oscar committee. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you will get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
Go out to Substack if you're not getting notifications and you want an email notification every time we upload. That is clownshishtv.substack.com. You can sign up, and yes, you will get an email when we upload a new video. Just be warned, we upload multiple videos per day. So anyway, this is coming from, the Mail. Oscar committee members so appalled by woke nominees, they're abstaining from voting. Wow. So Oscar committee members feel this is the end of the award show as smaller movies were nominated over big box office films for Best Picture because of DEI requirements, according to an expert.
The popular films don't usually get nominated anyway, but usually they have somewhat bigger films getting nominated. Now, this doesn't mean that smaller films don't deserve it, but right. I think a lot of people, actors, and films are getting overlooked because they didn't meet the requirements that they mandated, which was absolutely ridiculous to begin with. Yeah,
very seldom do the Best Picture nominations mesh up with a huge box office hit. The only time I can really think of that happening was Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, and that I'm pretty sure got Best Picture that year. But that was kind of an anomaly. That doesn't happen very often. So again, according to an expert, the 97th Academy Awards ceremony is going to be held on Sunday. Does anybody care? Amelia Perez, that is the trans musical, which I've seen clips from, and I'm like, obviously not for me.
I don't care either way. Honestly,
I don't care either way. I don't care that it exists. It's just obviously not for me. The Brutalist and Anora are all for Best Picture alongside Wicked.
Well, Wicked I can understand.
Wicked, okay, so that is actually, yeah, because Wicked
and The Complete Unknown that was pretty popular, and Dune Part 2 was pretty popular.
But according to podcaster and author Raymond, Arroyo, many in Hollywood are not too happy with the choices, including the almost 10,000 eligible voting members. He said he noted boxes that have to be checked in order for films to be nominated for an Oscar. That actually is true. That was something they did a couple of years ago. And there were a lot of movies and a lot of directors were angry. That was kind of, I think that was, at least for Hollywood, that was the big tipping point for a lot of people.
Well, it led to a lawsuit, one of the lawsuits against Disney because they were mandating stuff. And that was one of the things that was leading into the lawsuit for discrimination.
Yeah, because I mean, you can have I'm sitting here thinking like all these amazing movies that have been made over the years, and it's like, wait, so how many of these movies would not have been nominated for an Academy Award by today's standards? Because what I'm saying, the DEI stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, one of these Oscar winners pointed out to me, said, my film probably wouldn't qualify for an Oscar now because there's so many boxes you have to check, many of them DEI related, as podcaster told Fox News. He also said that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences representation and inclusion standards, first introduced at last year's ceremony, have had an impact as well.
Well, they had them before last year. I guess they weren't like forcing it until last year.
Yeah, I think they gave them if I remember correctly, and it's just off the top of my head, I think they gave everybody kind of a running start. Like they gave them like a 2-year, like by this year, this is what.
Yeah, but by the time it came into play, it was passé. It was
already over, right?
Yeah.
The Academy requires that for films to be considered for Best Picture, they have to meet 2 out of 4 categories, which focus on underrepresented groups, including racial and ethnic groups, women, people with disabilities, and the LGBTQ plus community.
So wait. To be considered, you have to, but focus. You have to either focus your story on these things or hire everybody, how much people in your film or show with these things.
Yes.
And it's like, so at that point, it's just every movie's going to be like super diverse and about, all these issues, and it's not going to be entertaining because this is about mandates.
So he said some voters are so fed up with this year's choices, they've opted not to vote. And it does feel like a lot of people are checked out. I mean, the public too, because the Oscars, I don't expect them to do that well. But like, I did see stories talking about how they weren't even watching the movies that they were given.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
The screeners. Yeah. The guy said, so many Oscar voters have told me the Oscars jumped the shark. They feel this is the end of the Oscars in some ways. In terms of the requirements, he said, you have to have so many non-traditional casting here and so many non-white people working on this part of the film. I don't see how that's fair. I mean, if a movie is good, it's good. But this is the same thing. Yeah, like you're saying with Disney, even when they were greenlighting their shows, it was like, oh, here's a fantastic show. This one's going to have mass appeal. This one's going to get all kinds of viewers, but it's just too white. We're going to have to pass. Let's pick this other show nobody's going to watch. Right?
Or you did really good about including people, but you didn't have enough.
You didn't have enough. You only had one gay character in this. You got to have more. You got to have more. It's got to be.
There weren't enough they-thems in this 50%. Episode, or this movie.
He said he thinks it's interesting because there are going to be a lot of films you've never heard of because they're no longer eligible to be nominated for Oscars. I mean, that's nothing new. Like a lot of people, you watch the Oscars and you look at like all the movies are rolling out and they're like, yes, and some weird foreign film you have never heard of until today, all of a sudden has become the darling of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He said those who did vote this year have been branded out of touch by those in Hollywood. They're not taking into account popular taste when making these choices. And you have a group of people acting in isolation from their audience, which is a huge problem. When you claim to speak as the cultural mouthpiece and center of the country, it's a huge problem. And I think many people in Hollywood are acknowledging that, and maybe they realize they're out of touch. Maybe the Oscars aren't what they used to be. It depends on how people watch them.
Hollywood's been out of touch for decades. This isn't new.
Yeah.
But they made it somehow further.
Well, he said if they were in touch with the average moviegoer, they would nominate Deadpool and Wolverine. No,
I don't think Deadpool and Wolverine.
No, but no. So that's different. Was it the like People's Choice Awards or something like that? Yeah, but like the Oscars, I mean, I do think it's stupid that they have these mandates in place because you are going to, like, I'm just thinking some of the movies I've watched this year. I'm like, yeah, that one probably wouldn't get nominated, and that one probably wouldn't get nominated, and that one's pretty good, but nobody's. You know what I'm saying? But this also explains why I think they're in the last couple of years, like a lot of stuff you're seeing, the pandering, especially as they're like, well, if we want this to get Best Picture nomination, then we're gonna have to pander and we're gonna have to play by
pretty
the rules.
much.
So what you're doing is you're basically creating art by committee, because you're going to be like, oh yeah, you can create a fantastic movie. You can put your heart and soul into it. But if it's not diverse enough, according to our diversity guidelines, then it's never going to be
guidelines are mandates.
The mandates.
It's a difference. Guidelines are like, suggestion. Mandates
strongly suggested with a crowbar. Yeah. So now I gotta wonder, like, I mean, I think Cynthia Riva is talented. I think she's a very good singer, but like, would Wicked have gotten nominated if she was white?
Probably not.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna be that guy. I mean, I think she's incredibly talented. I do.
But now she's going to play Jesus. So,
Now she's going to play. So she goes from the
that one will get nominated. I think it's a musical, though. But I mean, like, that one will probably get nominated for a Tony,
But would Wicked have gotten nominated if they picked a white girl? And you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, now, again, this is the problem with DEI, because now you look at everything and you're like, is this person there because they're the best choice, or are they there because they knew they had to tick boxes?
In this case, I think she really was the best choice.
Well, yeah,
I think she said really stupid things, but I think she really was the best.
She said dumb things, but she's talented. I mean, I can't deny she's talented.
Yeah, no, she was a really good choice.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. It said, yeah, it's kind of what happened to television. You went from 3 channels to cable. Now it's the wild west of the internet and every streaming show you're competing with. They said, the Oscars are irrelevant. And this might do it in. I mean, if it's a case of where the audience clearly notices that, like, why are all these movies getting nominated that, like, should not be here, maybe. And I think
I can't speak to these because I didn't watch these, so I can't tell you if I thought they deserved to be nominated. But it's interesting that the Oscar voting community is feeling like they aren't. I can't speak to that. I'm not voting, and I didn't see most of these.
So here's the kind of the issue too, is like, what are the numbers going to be like? Are people going to watch the Oscars? Because the numbers have been declining for years. And at what point do you say, hey, there's no more, because the Golden Globes kind of imploded, right? They imploded. Mm-hmm. So at what point do you say there's really no purpose for the Oscars?
Like, it hasn't been. It's just like a wank fest. That's all it is.
Well, that's the thing, because it's basically Hollywood congratulating itself, and the general public, the feeling, the zeitgeist today is, we don't love Hollywood anymore. We don't like celebrities anymore. We are sick of celebrities. We don't want to see them pat each other on the back.
No, they'll do this whole mandate crap, but then they still fight really hard to make sure, like, films that are independent or like YouTube or whatever aren't allowed to be included in shows and for shows and Emmys and stuff like that, and Oscars. They don't want them included.
Not
they were fighting.
Not unless it comes from Hollywood.
Right, because they were fighting a while, like, against, like, Netflix and stuff, but then now they're okay with that. But, like, if someone did a really good movie that they put on, YouTube or a platform like it, you wouldn't be allowed to be considered, because how dare you? But yet, if it was super diverse and, inclusive and no one went to see it in the theater, but everybody, in Hollywood says it's great, that can be included. I don't know. I didn't see these movies, so I don't care.
I remember, this is probably like 9 years ago, PewDiePie was on an award show. He basically got like the People's Award, and they were making the Hollywood people, and I forget who the presenters were, but they were making fun of him because he wasn't part of the establishment. And they're like, who's this guy? Who's this guy?
Yeah, but he probably had more people who knew who he was or followed him than they did.
Yeah, he did. They did that with Ninja before too. Like, they try to drag social media stars if they're not part of the group, right? If you're not part of the vetted Hollywood scene, they try to drag them.
But they're mad because you don't know your place.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of these people have bigger audiences than, I mean, we see what happens, especially like with journalists. They leave CNN or whatever, and they go out onto YouTube, and they get buried under a bunch of other influencers, and it pisses them off. It pisses Hollywood off. It pisses Hollywood off that some independent YouTuber can put something together themselves, and they get way more views than their stuff gets. And, so that's why they're trying so hard, I think, to control YouTube. But it'll be interesting to see if how many people tune in. I mean, I can't remember the last Oscars I've actually watched.
I don't watch any of them. I don't care.
Clips. Sometimes they're spicy, but
sometimes you see the dresses and stuff, and that's about it. I'm like, don't care. It's like the Met Gala. Don't care.
Well, last Oscars I actually cared about was Will Smith. Will Smith getting into
No, actually, I did care when it was up for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I did care then.
That's true. That actually Everything Everywhere All at Once deserved. I believe it deserved.
I was into that because Brendan Fraser and
Oh yeah, that was when he did The Whale. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know if would he be allowed to be nominated this year because that movie was pretty white.
Right? Probably not. Everything Everywhere All at Once was very diverse, obviously. But that was a good one that deserved it.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this is they're saying this is basically it. The Oscars.
Everybody's gonna get mad at us. It's like we're just telling you what the Oscar committee's saying. We have no control over what they say.
And look, I believe it 100%. Believe it because what we're starting to see now is like you were saying before with tech companies and stuff like that. Like once the shackles are off. With the, you can see what people actually think, and they're like,
"Yeah, I'm allowed to speak now."
Yeah. Thank God I don't have to play the woke game anymore. Thank God my own employees can't terrorize me anymore, threaten me with cancellation anymore. So, I actually, if the Oscars wind up being a huge effing disaster this year and the ratings aren't good, I fully expect them to walk this back at some point.
I don't know. I don't know if anybody cares. If they walk it back. I just don't know if anybody cares. I was just thinking about the fact that I would do terrible in Hollywood because I would not be able to keep my mouth shut.
You can't keep your mouth shut on YouTube. I mean,
I know that's what I'm saying. I couldn't do it in Hollywood. I'd be like, oh, hell no. So it is what it is.
We'd have to get like 5 PR managers for you.
Sorry. I would need multiple, but then I wouldn't do what they told me either. So it wouldn't matter.
Okay. So what Geeky meant by lube up your head and shove it up your anus is she's really concerned about prostate health, right? She wants you to get checked. And, sometimes the best way to do that is to do it yourself and then go talk to a doctor. That's what she meant. Yeah. All right.
That's right.
We're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.